I think that the value of Black church studies is that it has an opportunity to not only look at the past, but give us some insight into the future. When we think demographically, Black Americans make up a significant part of our American religious population. And that means that everywhere you go, no matter whatever city or state, there's a Black church on a corner in a neighborhood somewhere. And that means that we have Black Christians worshiping and living and identifying all around us. And what better way to get to know our neighbors, get to know our fellow brothers and sisters in Christ, than to have a good sense of what it is that they believe, the history of their beliefs, and how they practice that in the world. So theologically speaking, if we think about theology as God talk, how does this particular community, this marginalized, underrepresented, underserved group historically, how do they talk about God? How have they talked about God? And how do they continue to talk about God in the world around us? And so a program like Black Church Studies is able to give us a sense of who our neighbor is and how they worship their God. I have an opportunity of teaching Black theology in the spring here at the seminary, and it's always a treat in and of itself to do it in a seminary space. You already have folks who are interested in the topic, not only of Black church or Black theology, but just theology in general. And so they come with this intellectual curiosity already. They come with a spiritual openness already, and those things make for really good generative conversation. And so in my course, I'm anticipating not only getting into the canon of the leading thinkers around Black theology like James Cone and Kelly Brown Douglas, but I'm also curious about what our students have to say after they've taken in this material and they've integrated it into their lives and they've thought critically about it and we've had enriching discussions. How then do they take that information and think about their own theological trajectory? And so that's probably the most exciting part about the classroom experience when it's melded with the content. It is reading all of the stuff that is around us and has been circulating for years and even most recently, and thinking about how it applies to what we're doing now in this particular moment. There is something about Black theology where I try to develop the class so that we are doing this kind of rigorous close reading, and the students are processing through writing and integrative knowledge that way. But there's also this component that I love about the class where we get to look at media. And we get to see images of folks worshiping and talking and thinking about it within their particular context. And so that integration of the text, of actual work and assignments for assessments, but also the ways in which cultural production plays into this course, I think makes it particularly special. Right now, I'm actually finishing my first book that is based on my PhD dissertation. It's based around my subject, I call her my subject, Bishop Ida Bell Robinson. Bishop Ida Bell Robinson was a Black woman religious leader during the interwar period in the United States. She not only founded an organization, a Pentecostal holiness organization, which is not uncommon during the 1940s to the 1930s to the 1950s. A lot of women were doing that. What made her different was not just that she was a woman religious leader, and not that she founded an organization or even was ordained a bishop. What made her particularly distinct was that she was actively trying to make sure that there was gender equity when it came to the ordination process. So she intentionally, not selfishly, just kind of made herself a powerhouse, but she went after women who felt called to ministry and ordained them to ministry, and then went a step further and allowed them to be able to pastor their own churches, which gave them, as I argue in my book, a certain type of economic power because they were full-time pastors of their own church and they were able to do something other than the jobs that were normative to Black women during that particular period of time. And so I find her to be a very interesting character and historical figure to study because she is drawing on multiple things, right? She allows me to see the ways in which the church has addressed gender over time, has addressed race over time, and even has addressed class and economics over time, right? So she's a church figure, she's a church woman, but she's also a social figure who did some remarkable things in her community feeding the hungry, literally, sheltering the homeless, literally, and even educating those who were without education by starting a school. So she was doing some pretty dynamic things in a period of time when this probably should not have been possible. And so I look at her as not only an exemplar, but also someone who challenges maybe some of our notions around religion and history in the United States.